Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to be able to speak to you about this incredible and very unique film. Maybe you could begin with a brief introduction. What can audiences expect if they watch Silent Land?
What they can expect? Well, I think they can expect very touching story. They can expect a kind of thrillerish story. They can expect not easy to digest story, that I have to admit, but in some points a very funny story.
And of course, it's your debut feature, but I believe, that's your short film Fragments, was it, that, kind of had some similar ideas that were ruminating, which you've then kind of explored in more depth in this film. So maybe you can just talk us through kind of the starting point and the inspiration behind the film that we watch now.
Okay, so I'm at my short diploma film Fragments that were premiered in Cannes like in 2014, many years ago. And then I thought that this 25 minutes, it's only 25 minutes, it's just not enough screening time to speak about these characters. I like to call them their state, like it's kind of emotional bankruptcy. And I thought I would like to explore it more. When Fragments were more about Anna, the Silent Land is more about Adam. So I took my characters who cannot communicate with themselves. They don't need it actually, because they don't want to express feelings, especially the hard one. So they close each other in themselves. So I just took them from Warsaw, where Fragments were, to the, I mean, like why their context in Italy. And the journalist in Warsaw was laughing that instead of taking them to therapy, I take them to the holidays. So, and that's really nice sentence. And I put them in in a different context, because it's not the Fragments were more about the relationship actually, and how the main characters are falling apart and how they cannot construct, a relationship. But Silent Land is about something more. It's this relationship story is just on the basic level, but on something that is more important for me is this meta level of the film, and that was actually the core. I mean, my first idea, because I wanted to speak about immigrants' tragedy after what happens on Lampedusa Island. It was 2013. And I wanted to tell in a not littler way how Europe and whole world actually is blind for this tragedy, how we close our ears and our eyes. And it was actually the most important for me. So there's two starting points. One is Fragments, and the second one is this more important issue. I don't think that relationships are not important. Of course they are, but I wouldn't like to spend 5 years making film just about that man loved a woman, and it just needs something more.
And what I think is really striking about the film is, even though there are these themes that kind of emerge, if you like, as the film goes on, we don't get that much of an indication of it. When you first you see the opening scenes, it looks like their relationship is perfect. They seem perfect. They're on a holiday, the sun's shining. And just very quickly, this seems to kind of unravel. But I just wondered if you could say a bit about how you were playing with expectations in that sense of, even the thriller aspects of it. You don't expect anything sinister to unfold in broad daylight. So all our sort of associations of what we think we're going to be watching are kind of challenged. So how did you want to play with expectations in that sense?
Well, that's what you said at the beginning. This is not a couple who is, arguing, throwing cups and knives and forks. It's like everything. It's like very quiet. That's also the silence in the film, which I created also because of sound with the sound design. And that what interested me as a filmmaker. It's like a tension. I mean, that's what I would like to put the viewer in a not comfortable situation and to ask them questions rather than give answers. And also I played maybe with this expectation. I don't know if I'm answering correctly to your question, but also with framing. I mean, a lot of things happens beyond the frame. And because I didn't want to be so literal and direct, so I use these tools as an image and sound. And actually, it was the whole story was like, it's not so like this is the one and only interpretation for the viewer. I mean, he can get many interpretations, and he can. I don't expect the viewer that he would like my characters because they're not likable and we know it. But for me, it's just my interpretation. I can forgive Adam because I think he changed, he understood his guilt. And because this is a film about actually conscience and guilt, and he understand it. So basically, yes.
And I think that's interesting again, because maybe on the face of it, and maybe it's like our internalized kind of, understanding of masculinity. Do we, in the first instance, blame him? He's the man. Should he have run, and been the hero? But actually, equally, she could have done the same thing. So that's our own instincts that we have to question. So I think it's interesting playing with that idea as well.
Yeah. That's the same. I mean, we want to be equal at work, in bed, in the kitchen, everywhere. But when there is kind of situation like, oh no, this is like he's supposed to run and help, but no, she was staying next to him. Even more, she is not afraid of water, and it's like, but she didn't do it, and then she puts the blame on him, because she starts to lose control over her life, and she becomes weaker. At the beginning, we can speak in terms of being weaker on what's the opposite of weak? Sorry, my English.
Strong.
Tougher.
Yeah.
Stronger. So we think that she's stronger, but when, as I said, she loses control, she becomes to be weaker, and he actually takes the blame because he confronts with this tragedy.
And I also thought the interesting thing that I feel like happens is, I think the audience can start to feel maybe not complicit, but you somehow start to question, well, what would I have done in that situation? You'd like to think that you wouldn't be like these characters, but would you be? And kind of making that link to how we act in Europe in relation to immigration. Are we taking action? Are we standing up for what we think is right? Or are we being passive? So, are we much closer to these characters than we would like to admit in the way we live our lives?
Definitely. People are asking me, did you experience such a situation? I mean, yes, not even yesterday here in London, the guy was passing on the bike and he had a lot of boxes in one hand and he fell from the bike. And nobody helped him, just me. And I was trying to, to collect these boxes because he was so stressed. And, I don't know what's happening to him, but and people were just passing by, So I remember when I was in Luxembourg with this film and the Q&A after, that some viewer, he compared this passivity and conformity when Adam is and Anna are watching the death of Rahim, to this passivity, because it was just after the Russian invasion to Ukraine happened, passivity of NATO and European Union to Ukraine, So it's like, unfortunately, my film is really very updated. I started to write it 5 years ago with my co-writer Piotr Litwin, and we've just thought, okay, this is like this kind of problem. It's like in Southern Europe, we are in the north, so it's like, no, but right now, it's these barbarous things that are happening on Polish and White Russia borders, that we closed the border, our government, not we, our government. But on the other hand, the government opened the border between Poland and Ukraine. Why? Because Ukrainians are white, and people on the other borders are not white because they come from Afghanistan, Syria, and other countries, you know.
And I think a very crucial line in the film as well is when almost as like a rationalization on behalf of Adam, it's like, he wasn't even legal. Or every time there's sort of, does he have family? Who? Him. And this othering that people do kind of to, you know, a bit of mental gymnastics to help themselves feel better about not taking action and not treating everyone the same.
Yeah, they don't... am I racist? No, I'm not racist. You know, no, I'm not. But, you know, he wasn't even legal here. I mean, it's like, that's who we are, unfortunately, and we will have to face this kind of situation. Well, it's different here in London because it's like in England, it's like more multi-culti than in Poland. You know, in Poland we are white and Catholic, and that's all. You know, and so I'm very curious what will happen in you know, in the future, and how we could deal with. I mean, saying dealing, I mean helping, not helping.
And can you just quickly say a few words about your incredible cast? I mean, because the central couple, I mean, they just look like they walked straight out of an ad of some kind. And then also the contrast that you create between the two different couples and the different dynamics. So maybe you can talk a bit about your cast.
So my main characters, Anna and Adam, I worked with the same actors with my previous short diploma films, also the same, and the same cinematographer as well. And they are amazing. They are very well known in Polish theater. And the girl Agnieszka, she's like an emerging star right now in the cinema. For Dobromir, who acted Adam, he is also well known, but it was his first leading role. And I work with him in like my 4 other short films. So, and we are friends in private life. And they are friends because they perform in the same theater. So, for instance, when there was this intimate scenes when they were having sex, it wasn't a big problem. It wasn't an issue, you know, for them, because they treat each other like brother and sister. And I love them privately. They are very, very extremely intelligent. Even when we are working on the scripts, there are some lines that they propose. It's not like everything was, but not on the set, but before, during the prep time. So, and my other actors are wonderful actors from Italy. Some of them acted in Sorrentino's movies, and we have, of course, Jean-Marc Barr, who is again playing a diver after Deep Blue, yes, and Alma Jodorowsky, also a very interesting actress, and I'm really waiting for her career to develop. And all of them were like just simply great people, you know.
And, you know, what do you hope people take away from watching the film? Because I think, as you're mentioning about the silence of it, or not pure silence, but, you know, you haven't got kind of an intrusive soundtrack. You know, the scenes do play out slowly. There's so much tension, but there is also humor and kind of, you know, unexpected things happening. So it keeps people on their toes. And then I guess also, as you're mentioning, you're kind of sneaking in perhaps these bigger issues, these bigger moral questions, but without it being overtly a political film, let's say. So what do you hope people take away?
After seeing the whole movie, I would like them to think, well, maybe my character is supposed to just invite this Arab guy for the dinner earlier, not later, and maybe they should just sit and eat and everything would be okay. And maybe I would like the people to invite this symbol, this Rahim Arab guy to the table and understand that there is no need for rational fear.
And can you tell us what you might be working on next? And also, I guess, from your perspective, how do you see the cinema landscape right now for opportunities for female directors to tell these different kinds of stories? I think, you know, you can bring something different to the table rather than just what we see maybe in mainstream cinema.
Well, I think that in my country, I can say a lot right now. It's like a better situation for women. They're making more films. Like a few days ago, our biggest like English BAFTA, it's our Gdynia Film Festival, finished, and Agnieszka Woszczynska, who made actually a British film, Silent Twins, not Lamb. You may hear about it with British actors, and she won the Grand Prix. And you know, so there were a lot of. I was with my film, and you know, other my friends. I think it's getting better and better, and we shouldn't be disappointed. Of course, it always can be better, you know. But I don't. I can speak only about myself. I don't feel underestimated being a woman making films in not in my country, because I made films in between 3 countries. It was not only Poland, Italy, but also Czech Republic. So I don't know. I don't feel underestimated at all.
And do you already know what you'll do for your next film, or are you still thinking about it?
Yes, no. I wrote a script with my also other co-writer. And right now we are going for scouting, because this time it will be also an island, but not south, but north of Europe. So we hope to get the finance, because it will be also a co-production. So it's not so easy. It's always lasts longer, and you know, and also with international cast. So we're starting, and I hope with the same crew, because I think I managed to establish like this kind of film family, and with the same producer, of course, as well. So so we're ready to shoot. We just need find location and find money.
I'm no doubt you'll get there. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us, and I can't wait for everyone else to have a chance to see Silent Land. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
To chat to you. See you. Bye.